coming to the Ambient Project Game Panel. First of all, who are we?
Well, my name is Lucas, I'm also known as Wuna, and I'm the PR manager at A Little Bit Different, currently developing ambient.white.
And I'm Shelska, also working for public relations and translating the game into French. And today we will be talking about our brand new video game, ambient.white.
Okay, so some of you might have heard about it, some of you might have seen some of the YouTube trailers and stuff like floating around, but what exactly is ambient.white? Ambient.white, in short, is an ambitious video game project that's developed by us up here. We're called A Little Bit Different, and we're a video game studio. We're consistent of artists, writers, animators, and even Unreal Engine masters. So the goal here of ambient.white is to create a pony game unlike any other we've seen on the market so far. This is something that's skillfully built on Unreal Engine, and for those that don't know, Unreal Engine is by far one of the most extensive and advanced game engines that are out there in the market today. Unreal Engine allows us to create an incredibly unique and unseen atmosphere for you, the player, to explore with these characters. Speaking of which, it will be explored with deep and developed characters that our writers have worked endlessly on. All of this comes together to tell an original and an emotional and dramatic story for you to experience. Speaking of the storyline, this is of course something that's very fundamental to any video game project, and because of that, we sat down with our writers and we're like, okay, let's do the best thing we possibly can within our theme. It goes a bit something like this. Our story takes place in a world of endless winter, where every nation is in search of better and warmer lands. You'll explore this world with Astrum and Kranita, our two characters, who are two ponies who are students of one of the most powerful unicorns of all. With these two characters, you'll be battling majestic enemies, eventually to try and escape the lethal cold of the ever-enclosing darkness of winter. So, without any further ado, we're proud to announce the development of ambient.white.
Repetition. It's something you notice after becoming an adult. The seasons change, but only for a moment before they find themselves back in an endless cycle. Every winter, the hearts of those around me seem to grow a little colder, as though the summer couldn't thaw out a small patch of ice before the snow came again. Craney once asked me about that repetition. She asked me why ponies feared winter. I told her it was because ponies didn't like the cold, that they preferred the warmth of summer rather than the ice of winter. She gave me an odd look and told me, "Well, I love the winter. It's peaceful." That was many years ago, but I still remember those words. Now, if we want to see next summer, we all need to change as well.
So this is where our game begins, in our icy and decayed world. You have to notice right away that this is not pre-rendered footage or anything. This is in-game alpha recording. We do work with a physically based lighting engine that provides the player with beautiful graphics. It really brings the world to life. And for those who are working with Unreal Engine, you'll know this with PBR lighting. You do carry a book as well. Here you can see an overview of your inventory, of your stats. You can also craft items from different materials you can find in as well as around your environment. We do also have a custom magic system that you can use to, amongst other things, manipulate your environment. So for example, you can see the category system here choosing levitation. You can also use spells for attacking enemies, interacting with assets in the world, and much more. And you will have to find yourself manipulating the environment of ambient.white to progress the storyline.
sis.
Oh, there you are. Nice hiding spot.
Yeah, I thought about actually hiding, but I found this view. Isn't this sunrise beautiful?
It really is. Beautiful as always.
Yeah, as always. And always different.
What do you mean?
I'm saying, you know, beauty. It's in the details. Every sunrise has its own specific colors, angles, light and all. And no matter what combination of those the sunrise gives, it's always amazing.
Right. Let's go, Creanie.
Wait, sis. How high are the clouds?
Not as high as you are.
Oh, come on, sis. I'm serious.
1 mile or so?
Okay, never mind. Let's go. We have a lot of stuff to do today, right?
Yes. We have a lot of stuff to do.
Now that you've seen and heard a little bit of ambient.white's storyline, let's talk about combat. What you're about to see is completely unreleased footage that is exclusive to our convention panels. Do note that this very early footage may contain unrefined and unfinished story and mechanics, but this should, however, give you a pretty rough idea of what you can expect from ambient.white's combat ideology. You will be seeing things such as sneaking, interacting with inanimate objects, using and combining various items and even magic in a result of a basic one-on-one combat.
Wait, sis, you're gonna go in completely unharmed? Here, take this.
Right. Hope we don't get into trouble this time.
I'm clumsy, remember? So prepare for the worst.
So, this is how it all ends, huh? Well, at least I won't have to bother with housework and taking care of you. What a relief.
We are the most powerful creatures in the world. I'm not going to just die here like that.
Then be careful, oh great and powerful one.
Okay. okay?
Creamy!
Hey, are you okay?
I'm fine. Everything's okay. Didn't you say you wanted to fight monsters? That wasn't what I meant. Yeah, sure.
So, for this kind of combat demo, we're very happy to say that this is available to those who donated to our patrons today. And we're working on something new as well. Since we made this for BabsCon back in April, we've been constantly working to evolve our combat system further. And we'd like to show you an example of something we made very recently, some advances, some experimentations with what works and what doesn't, to really make sure that you can get the best and most advanced and original combat experience you can get.
I'm holding it. Start.
us on Patreon. First one, shame on you, come on, man. Second off, we do have an open beta demo for you who do want to try the game's basic mechanics. And here's a little preview of what you can find on our website. More about that in a second. So, people seem to have kind of liked what we've done so far. We've even gotten approved for a release on Steam once our game releases. But, like some others, yeah, cool, right? Like some other game projects, we do have a bit of a problem. That problem has to do with our staff. Ambient.white, as you can see, has lots of potential, both in its development, its style, its combat mechanics, its storyline. The problem is that that potential isn't quite fulfilled. You can think of it this way. All you've seen so far has been done by a relatively small team of talented creators. So now that you've seen that, imagine what we could do with a full team of talented creators. It is our belief that we can come together with the community's best creators to continue developing this game to the eventual release on Steam.
So, who exactly are we looking for? Yeah, sorry. Primarily, we're looking for 3D animators. We'd be animating stuff like character and AI movement. For example, you can see here what we've done already. Astrum sprint, jump, glide, and teleport animations. We are also looking for sound designers to create sound effects that are simple and beautiful in harmony with the style of ambient.white, such as hoof steps, magic effects, environmental sound, and much more. Finally, we're looking for writers to write major and minor storylines for the game, as well as 3D modelers to create assets such as props, but also more important models like characters and environments.
So, let's say you want to play ambient.white, or perhaps you want to join the team in helping us create it. Well, where can you find us? Lucky for you, we've got a fancy schmancy website. Here you can read all of our updates on ambient.white. You can see all of our team members, and very importantly, the team members we need more of. You can read our frequently asked questions, and of course the demo you saw before, the open beta, that's free to download, that's on the website as well. You can also, through our website, apply for a position with the team. You can find all of this on albdifferent.com. Now, for those who think they might be interested, like, oh, I kind of work in some field you mentioned, but I don't know, can I help? We do have more specific information on all of our development positions on our website as well, albdifferent.com. You can also find our Patreon, again, as well as our social media if you are on Facebook or Twitter and want to follow us there. So, now we've been talking for a little while, and we realized that most of the time, the audience kind of have a couple questions. So, if you have any questions on recruitment or development, release, or anything like that, now's the time to ask. I guess raise a hand if you have a question. Sure, all the way in the back.
So you guys are the first sort of Brony game developers that I'm aware of who have been blessed with a Best of Steam Greenlight trailers by Jim Sterling. So what was your sort of reaction to that? Did it sort of help or hurt the game, and like how did people from the sort of mainstream normie society react?
Right. Yeah. Actually, it was kind of surprising. When I first found the project quite a while ago, I found it through the Steam Greenlight because it popped up on there, and I was like, "That's funny. How did that get through?" And I realized the first thing that was going to be in the comments was people going, "How did this get through?" But actually, people had a very nice reaction to it. Of course, there's still people going, "Oh, ponies, whatever," you know. But most people are either just whatever is kind of cool, or they're, you know what, I don't like ponies, but this is actually really nice. If you don't believe me, you can read our very, very, very long comment section on Steam Greenlight, because actually it has some pretty nice discussion and some really nice comments. Thank you. Any other questions? Sure.
I would have an Indian question.
Yeah.
You displayed that gliding is a year later, but why not flying? Especially in the combat.
That probably has to do with what we want the player to experience and be able to do and not be able to do. We might want the player to follow a specific path, and with flying, that can kind of break that. That's more of a MMORPG like Legends of Equestria, for example. But we've stuck to gliding for now. Specifically, that's something for our developers to answer, unfortunately. Any other questions? Good question, though. Sure, the first hand? Okay, yeah. This one is pretty normal with most game and animation projects is, are you not scared that, you know, someone is going to come along and say, that's ponies, we don't want that, that's our copyright. So there's two things. First off, Hasbro has a copyright within animation and some digital content on ponies. It doesn't reach quite that far into the video game, other than the mobile platform. However, the idea of anthropomorphic ponies running around doing things, that's no new idea. Hasbro certainly did not come up with it. And as such, that idea in itself cannot be copyrighted. A character, like something specific, like Twilight Sparkle, that can be copyrighted. It's a name and a specific character design. But the idea of a pony, you know, running off into the sunset was a very good, some guys from the Overmare team did a brilliant video on copyright. Very good job, guys. But yeah, you can copyright a product, but you can't copyright an idea, and we're working off an idea. So actually on our Steam Greenlight, I wrote a long report on this regarding every aspect of copyright and why we can avoid it and still have money running through the studio at the same time. Good question. In the front?
Will the game cost a couple of bucks later, or will it be for free?
Right. Yeah, you want to take it?
It should be around $10 USD or less on Steam.
One of the special things with Ambient is that we have the opportunity to pay some of those who work with us. Those who work extremely hard, or essentially near full time for someone like Dreamy, I guess. They get paid through this project, through not just the donation through Patreon, but through other means as well. And that means eventually the rest of the team would also like to get paid, and that will be when the game is released. And yeah, it won't be a $60 AAA game. You're not going to have to pay that amount. Come on. It'll keep relatively cheap, but we still want to make some money off what we work with. Good question. All the way in the back.
can you make any predictions about the size of the fun project? How many hours would it potentially be?
Right, hours of gameplay and stuff like that. Not really, because we haven't really thought of, how long we want this to be. What we're effectively doing is parting up the game into sections. So there'll be, like for example, ambient.white is its own little section, and that's part of a larger storyline, kind of like how, I don't know if you know Dot Hack or something like that, or Final Fantasy. That's the same way. There's sections of games that make up a longer storyline. But no, we don't really have any estimate of how long it'll be. All the way to the right.
How many different civil environments, regardless of the color, snow or not,
Oh. You know what? As in public relations, I kind of haven't heard anyone talk about that. But I guess the premise of our game is this endless winter. You're in search of better and warmer lands, but the chances are you're most likely going to see an environment that's been manipulated with snow and this cold. That's what it's based on, and that's also why our characters are kind of trying to find these warmer lands, trying to survive. Sure. A multiplayer. So a really good, I'm sorry I'm answering all the questions.
No, it's fine.
A really good thing I heard one of our developers in a studio I used to work in is that making multiplayer for a game is essentially kind of like redeveloping the entire game, or making an entire new game that's kind of copies. So most likely not, and also because it wouldn't really fit within the premise. Ambient.white needs to be kind of lonely, because it builds on that. And that's also why we have this winter. You didn't see many other ponies except for the two sisters, and we want the player to have that feeling when he's playing it. Right there?
I want to ask something about the Unreal Engine. I'm not a game developer or anything, but just in general, what would you say are the upsides and downsides of Unreal Engine?
Okay. I don't know if you can answer this one or if I should take it. Okay. I've been fortunate enough to work with both Unity and Unreal Engine, and I'm gonna have to try not nerd speak if you're not a game dev. But essentially, very basic, and I know the guys from over here are gonna slash me for this, but in my view, Unreal Engine lets you, it's kind of like the difference between iOS and Android in kind of a way. iOS is, by standard, kind of nice to look at and stuff, but you can't do as much. It's easier to work with, but you can't necessarily do as much, and good luck getting those graphics you saw there into Unity in a short amount of time frame, especially with stuff like PBR, physically based rendering, like for the lighting, for example. On the downside, Unreal Engine is hard to develop in. It's those who develop Unreal Engine expect that those coming into it are already incredibly experienced with it. And that's also why UE Masters is another position that's up on our website. Good question. Yep.
I have another question for multiplayer. If there's another way to work with a multiplayer, can you do something to like a co-op? The one player plays the big sister and the other player plays the little sister. Try to do something with that.
Right, okay. That's a good idea. They would definitely have very different skill sets, of course, two different characters. But it's still a pretty big task just in terms of IP networking and, even stuff like, local networking two computers together to work in co-op. You might have seen like those people who rigged together the old Doom games on like 3 computers and play co-op. That was a massive task with a game that already exists. Ours is still in development. So for right now, we're just focusing on getting the main single player game done and getting ambient.white out there for all of you guys to experience, because we truly believe it's an incredible experience. Especially for us who've been able to test the demos. It's truly remarkable. But right now, just the main game. But you know what? I might keep that in mind. Thank you. In the front?
Would it include the multiplayer doesn't break the storyline, or did you have already finished storyline from the beginning?
So if multiplayer would break the storyline?
We see that the little sister is getting out of the battle, and it makes this more atmospheric. And she's hiding behind the wall and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you have 2 players, one playing the little one and one playing the older one, you would break the storyline for that.
Perhaps. That's something for the developers of the game to discuss. That's not necessarily for me. But on the counter side, I think it's good to take a short consideration, even if very short, to any possibility of the game, like any development changes. But yeah, I appreciate the input. Wow, there's a lot of people with hands up. Thanks for the questions, guys. Thanks for coming out. We really didn't expect this many to come out. Seriously, thank you. Thanks a lot for coming out. Do you just want to take a couple? Okay. Along the wall there in the front. You.
Will the game plan be storytelling, or the community gets an opportunity, for example, in the workshop, to do their own custom levels?
Modability.
It's a game that's it has a lot of puzzle mechanics, so that, for example, you can climb down both rocks.
Boxes and stuff, right, yeah.
Puzzles, and will give the community opportunity to develop their own levels.
Right, so effectively the ability to be able to mod the game to some degree, and then some perhaps. Yeah, Steam Workshop is a fantastic platform, by the way. Again, that's something that we haven't necessarily considered so far, primarily because we want ambient white, and it's like the state we wanted, like true to heart, single player experience. First off, that comes first, and we aren't quite done with that yet. And that's why also we're looking for people to help us develop it so we can get that done. And it's kind of like co-op, for example, or again, modability. It's just not something we've necessarily thought of because we've got our eyes on the main goal right now, which is getting the main platform finished. Yeah?
Are you planning sections with the little sister, or are you going to be exclusively playing as the big sister by the game?
I'm honestly not quite sure, but I would hazard a guess you wouldn't be playing as a little sister just because of the perspective we want to give the player. However, that's my guess. I haven't heard from the developers, but that's an interesting idea. Sure, right in the middle.
A question about the law. How much lore there is in this new board you have created in this game? How much lore is there to explore, quest with the other papers?
Right. Okay, so lore, yeah. That's, again, unfortunately, that there's a lot of things that are for the developers to say, and it sucks. There's other questions they can't answer. Because it's really something that only the guys deep into development really know about. But we are focusing quite heavily on the storyline. And again, this is, me hazarding a guess, not necessarily answering on behalf of the developers or the team. But as we mentioned, the story is an incredibly big part of Ambient White. We really want that to strike very close to home for people playing it. We have some ideas from the real world we are building the game on, like feelings and experiences people go through. So there will definitely be something. How much, again, for the developers to answer. In the front red shirt?
I don't know whether you might be able to answer this, but do you know when they will add password reset?
Oh yeah, we had the problem. Okay, yes. So we had an issue with our servers at one point, and there was a problem with passwords. However, I believe that was resolved quite a while ago. Have you tried logging in since then?
I mean password reset. If people forget their password.
Oh, password. Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about something else. We had a problem with our servers a while back. Okay. For password reset, I mean, yeah, probably. Right now, we don't really have, the world's largest team of web developers, and those who do work in that field for us also have other stuff they do, which is more important. So that's why we haven't really gotten around to that. But it should certainly be a feature. Like, we've already discussed it within the team. It should be there, like, definitely by the time Ambient White is out. Good question, thank you. Blue shirt?
Obviously, this is still in development, and it kind of sounds like you're still spitballing ideas. Do you have any sort of timetable for when this will be on early access and then ultimately finished?
Yeah. Again, because we're fortunate enough and we've planned out our studio in the way that we're avoiding copyright to the point where we begin earning money and have people working full time, Development on Ambient White is incredibly fast. It's the fastest I've ever seen in any studio I've worked in. And our scheduled release for Ambient White by itself is around fall this year. This year, yeah. Fall, yeah. So, again, I don't want to say anything and everyone goes, well, oh, fall, you know, and then we pull like a valve and it's like, 10 years down the road, we haven't seen Half-Life 3. I don't want to jinx it. But that fall date is on our Steam greenlight, and if nothing else, it should give you an idea that if that's what we're shooting for, and we're still shooting for, development is very fast. Again, because we have people working practically full-time on it. Good question, thank you. I'm not sure how much time we have left. 45 minutes? 10 minutes, okay, sick. All the way on the left. Sorry, can you speak a bit louder?
You use Unreal Engine to the client of the game.
Yeah.
The server for that, what do you use to program that?
You know what, I'm not quite sure. If you're really interested, or you think you can help, perhaps, there is an email as well. Okay, yeah, and if anyone has like any very specific development questions, or you just want to get in contact with our team, there is an email directly to our primary developer. You can mail him directly, and the email address is again on our website, atlbdifferent.com. I'm not quite sure. I'm really surprised you guys are coming with very specific questions. It's really cool. I was thinking like, oh, when is the game going to be released as standard? But these are technical questions. That's really cool. Yeah, right in front.
You said that you are focusing on storytelling, but I'm interested about RPG elements.
Yeah.
Will there be some character progression, or will she learn new tricks, maybe to solve new puzzles?
Right. So yeah, our game, as I said, does build on real life experiences, real life feelings that some people go through. Like it's kind of this representation of feelings we have in the real world. And because of that, yeah, I believe the characters will learn, but I think more importantly than the characters just learning, I think it's about the player learning as well. The aspects they go through, that should be something for the player to realize, a change within them. As for the RPG element of them developing and getting new skills, for example, I believe that should also be an aspect, yes. The orange shirt in the back. Sorry, I've been ignoring you guys in the back.
Will the game have a straight storyline, or can you make decisions to alter the story?
Sorry, can you speak a bit louder?
Yeah, so the storyline is great, but you can make decisions.
Oh, okay. Most likely the storyline will be straight. Something you see like in Fallout, where you can kind of alter the, how the outcome is in the game. I believe Mass Effect was another thing, correct me if I'm wrong, that where you can change the storyline and get different endings based on it. But that's a lot of work, because you're definitely multiplying every aspect and every step of the game. So we still, again, because of how our game works with real emotions and feelings, we still have a very specific pathway we want the player to follow. So something like different endings, don't necessarily bet on it for Ambient White, but we are planning on doing stuff after Ambient White, and it may be apparent then we have a bit more money to work with, a bit bigger budget, and more people to work with. Also good question. Right, one of the con staff.
You keep mentioning the real-life emotions that the game will be about. That gives me the impression that, besides my own point, what are the influences of the game? Were you influenced by any specific game, franchise, something else?
Yeah, so this kind of goes all the way back to the start of when I first saw this. I was browsing, I know this is taboo to say, sorry. I was browsing 4chan, and someone posted a webm. Okay, someone posted a webm, and it was the first trailer thing our main developer, Dreamy, had made all on his own. He made this entirely by himself. And I think back then, he had this idea of, this is my impression anyway, because I don't have this full story, but he had this idea of making a game based on these things people go through. Dreamy has gone through, by my understanding, some pretty rough emotions as well. And perhaps he wanted to display that in some way. But when he promoted that idea to his friends were like, haha, that's impossible. Look at other game projects like, that try to do stuff like that on their own. No one goes out and makes a AAA game in Unreal Engine. Nobody even makes an Unreal Engine demo by themselves. And so he went out and did. And other than that, I'm not entirely sure what Dreamy's inspirations is, because the base of the game comes from him alone. It's not like other teams I've worked in where it's like some people came together and talked about something and kind of united ideas. It's one guy and his ideas alone. But that's a good question. I'll ask him actually, and we'll see to it. Thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned the development team a couple of times. I have a question. How many people actually developing the game? I mean, 3D artists, the core development team, and all of that.
Yeah. So again, because we have some members who are paid, and with that, some people who work for us who wouldn't necessarily work for freelance or free studios, we have fewer members than any other studio I've been in, but they also create an astounding amount of output and of quality. This really depends on whether you're counting translators. Because we have translators for a lot of languages. People who just like, hey, I'd like to just, translate it if you'll let me into my language, my native language. But without the translators, I don't know, how many do we have in our main business chat?
I would say around 15, 20?
Yeah, 20 people maybe, 15, 20 people, which is considerably less than most of the studios you'll find because of aforementioned reason. Oh man, I should have mentioned this when this slide first came on. Wow, I'm stupid. If you have any more questions after all this, just come up here and talk to me or to us, and we'll super be happy to talk with you. And actually, you know what? We might be able to just text Dreamy and just ask him about that question you asked. See if we can get an answer from him. I don't know if we're beginning to run short on time.
It's 11:56.
Okay. I think we should, if anyone has any more questions, just come up here and ask us. Other than that, thanks so much for coming, and thanks for checking out our